And then
For them.
explain to me why your uncapped is so capped.
Yeah, so
First
I
it's
don't know, bro.
working.
I need to change the service provider.
I thought you did. You said you were going to.
Hey, bro, I'm up to here with admin. They want to admin me. Now you try to be diligent with admin, and then everything takes 6 hours to do. It takes your soul. Something simple, my guy. 6 hours later, you're like, how am I still here trying to do this one thing? What was I trying to do the other day that I was just like, fuck everybody. and it was something simple. Oh, so I was trying to just make sure everything on my distro kit is good, right? I need to set up also the bank, the thing. What a wormhole. So for the payout, for like, if when you eventually start making enough for them to start paying out and stuff, I just wanted to get that done. My guy, you go down there and click, okay, filling in simple details. Next thing you know, they're asking you about, because there's a tax issue on people getting royalties from these things, because now this company is in America, and technically, in order for the government to get people's tax, especially on music and things like that, on royalties, is that what they would do is take 30%, or would ask the provider to take 30%, knowing that there's little chance of them getting that tax. So what they ask the payer to do is hold, that they, like your employer would do, they would hold your tax and pay on your behalf. So, but now it's a little strange for something like this, because that company is in America, but the person who the money is being paid to technically is not there. So you hear what I'm saying? So you can't really, there's certain tax laws, and between each country, I had to go learn about, because now it asks you to fill out this form like you know everything about tax, bro. There's certain things, apparently there's this like sort of trustee deal between countries as to how they solve this problem. So I had to go read on the America and South African policy, basically, regarding this matter and what they state. Because that's a deal between the two countries. It's literally a contract between the two, how to function with this. Because obviously then there's big corporations who kind of are in South Africa, but they're making their money in the US, or there's US companies making their money in South Africa. So there's this whole thing of structuring how tax is paid between two countries. And so I couldn't fill this thing out until I'd read this thing, so that I can finally just submit this, and I can know it's something that's done, that I don't have to be there. I don't have to think about it in the future. And that's what, for me, I prefer doing that, because then when these things come, when now it's time for, hey, I need to get my money, or I need to do my thing, I hate that feeling now of you kind of late to that party.
You're 10 steps behind.
You're 10 steps behind, but now it's at an important time. It's at a critical time now. You're trying to get what you want, but it's like, if I'd only done it back then.
So wait now, they're saying that you need to be tax compliant in South Africa or in the States?
So that's the thing. It's you being compliant in America technically, because that's where the money would be coming from. This is American money. When you get paid by that distributor, you're taking money away from America.
Yeah.
Which is why they have that policy of, you have to fill out the strict form where you say why this wouldn't apply to you according to that policy between the two countries. So for me, it was something like, the company is in South Africa, and on top of that, 50% of the shareholders in this company are South African, because there's rules to that too. How many of them can be of that country, where it's physically located, this company. So there was this long thing that I had to go through just to fill in the form to submit this thing and make sure that is sorted out. And these are the wormholes you go down as soon as you say, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of admin to make sure something is out the way. Just, my guy,
can't you just send it to your PayPal?
Your what?
Your PayPal.
No, they won't pay it out. So DistroKid makes you fill this form out.
DistroKid. So DistroKid doesn't pay to your PayPal.
Doesn't pay where?
To your PayPal. They can't pay to a PayPal.
They do, but now they've put this thing on because governments are like, okay, cool. There's all these people making royalties around the world, but technically they're being paid by this company that's in the US. So that's why they've now put on this thing. It wasn't there before because DistroKid just pay out to everyone. And that was the thing about it. They say, well, look, you just pay your fee and we give you 100% of your royalties. You just pay that recurring fee, which was their business structure. But the US government was the one who was like, we need to know that all this money that's being paid out, that's leaving the US, is actually technically allowed to be paid out. Because we need to be taking our bit. And we need to make sure that the country you in has those laws, or we have that deal with that country you in order for you to be taxed. Because you can't be taxed double, right? Because technically, if this was a lot of money we're talking about, US might tax me there, but then for me earning that money, I might be taxed by South Africa again.
On the
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you get double taxed. That's why there has to be this agreement between the two countries that at some point, wherever this money is going, the tax has to be taken. So
did you only have to come in? Did you only have to do this form because you've reached the threshold? Is that the only reason that you now had to fill out this form? Because you wanted to do a payout?
What do you mean because I'd reached the threshold?
The threshold that your distributor, that they, because every distributor has a threshold. If you don't make money above a certain amount, you can't pull any of that money out.
Oh, no. It was just like a suggestion, like, oh, get your thing sorted out, because I hadn't filled in that part. I just been uploading or what, but I hadn't filled it out.
So there was money sitting.
I don't know. Probably, surely, but it's probably very little. I mean, like, I think I have money still sitting from Ilali to City from a different distributor I used. I think it was like $50, which reminds me, hey, $50 times 2. Hey, that's a grand one. Hold up. I need to go get my money. I need to go get my money.
Because I'm looking at my Airbit account, right?
Yeah.
And Airbit is also an American company, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know who does this, but Airbit as well. So that money goes straight from my Airbit into my my PayPal. And then from my PayPal, it goes to my
it goes to your account,
my bank account.
That's how it was working. For all the companies that chose to work that way. But I think DistroKid, with gaining popularity, the US government just they got red flagged, and I was like, hey, money's being paid out here in royalties. Are we getting our cut? So they probably just got caught in all of that. But I'm sure they haven't
so much.
Yes, exactly.
But the beat-making companies, they're also making millions upon millions. Maybe it's not the.
But how many government officials know about beat makers? But now you've got probably Justin Bieber and record labels even probably using these platforms now. You see, so they with text, man, if your head starts to appear, hey,
cut.
Hey, you look like you're making money. That's what happened. So I think like companies like BeatStars, they haven't it's not enough of a broad audience using something like BeatStars. It's producers scattered around the world, and but
we are taking.
Huh?
But I said we are taking.
You see, you're taking exactly.
You're
taking larger,
like little bits and pieces. A guy will get $7K a month there, US. Another guy will get $10K a month, US. And they're all pulling this money, and it all comes to so much. And they even they publicize it. Oh, for the past 24 months, past 12 months, our beat makers made this much money, and it's a lot of money. It's millions upon millions. But I still think even they're probably still flying below the radar.
Yeah, they're probably just flying below the radar.
But then my bank account also gets taxed on the way in, because they ask for a reason. When you connect your PayPal and your bank account, they ask me every single time I pull money out of there. They're like, "What's going on here?" And then they hit it with there's a fee. I need to go and check, but it gets hit with a fee before it makes it to my account.
And even with PayPal, they were doing that because what was happening was that there was this international, movement of money between people that was going unaccounted for. I mean, you could technically pay for drugs then. using PayPal and what, and use drug dealers would use that and use that. I mean, that's what they immediately started doing with cryptocurrencies. They started using it now to pay for their things. So when now the government's involved, we're like, hey, money's moving here between countries and between people. We're not even sure if this money is being taxed, and and it's probably large amounts. Then they probably made PayPal now put laws, or there was probably pressure somewhere for them to put laws or to put methods whereby this money can at least be tracked. There's a stop somewhere where someone can say, okay, sharp, you guys have to be, whatever country you're in, we need to make sure that you are at least contributing to your tax fairly. So they won't know what country it is. So all they can do is just put it like a general stop. You know what I mean? And then a checkpoint for you. Okay, is this going to your bank account? Is it accounted for? What's your tax number? Just in case, so they can't get into trouble. So the day taxman comes after you for all the money you've earned, they can register and be like, hey, here's all the receipts. Here's all the receipts. This is how much money came in. This is how much is actually owed to you. You can't lie about anything, and you can't involve us. We didn't stop you from any of your tax. He was supposed to declare it, but in any case, here's the stuff. You know what I mean?
It's off our hands.
Yes, it's off our hands, exactly. So I'm sure a lot of companies wouldn't like to work like this, but it's for the government and for them to get their tax somewhere along the line.
For the artist, though, if we look at the artist now, this is not something that they should worry about right now.
No. Don't worry. Like, don't let it be something that you worry about. But for me, what I like to do is that when I set up something, I just like to have it done. You know what I mean? Like, if you tell me go register with Samro, I want to get everything done. I even registered the company, and I did my way, the personal way, and I registered my company, and I did it that way, and I put in that, and I had to deal with the phone calls and making sure all of that is sorted, because I don't want to have to deal with that along the line, like down the line now, when suddenly song is on radio out of nowhere, and you're getting traction for something, and then you're like, hey, and then you're asking months down the line now, but I need my royalties paid out, and then people are holding your royalties and things like that because they're saying, well, we don't have the full details, and we're going to hold on to this money, and you're going to have to go through the full application process anyway. Whereas rather be like, okay, cool, when they find me because I'm registered there, find me because I'm registered there, put the money there because I've already done that, I've already organized that. So for me and my admin, I just like to get through the hard part so that I can do stuff and I can sleep at night and I don't have to worry. And if any opportunity comes along the way, I'm prepared for that opportunity, because even if it's not fully, like, even if you haven't like really got everything in order, as long as when the opportunity comes, there's a basket for you to collect whatever they need from you. If they say, okay, now we need you to have the website because we want to put products on there in exchange for money. Do you know what I mean? Then already, okay, sharp, I've got that basket to receive that thing.
Yeah.
It's set up already. I prefer it that way, because I've learned just from being burnt over and over again that I just rather have you
prepared, bro.
Best be prepared. Get through the painful admin, get it done, and at least you can sleep at night and not have to worry about all. I mean, look at people now through COVID. Now people are wondering about, my financial advisor told me to set up the dread disease, or what about that thing where if you're sick and then you get paid out because COVID, you're not going to work for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? All of that. For me, every time my financial advisor said, here's form signed because we're going to increase this amount, because it's like we discussed it prior to that, hey, I just get it done. I'm just like, you know what? Here, sign. Here's the thing. Have it sorted out.
After understanding, obviously.
After understanding, yes. Understanding. It must be something we had discussed before. But at least then when the admin does come, which is the boring thing of reading through forms or signing and emailing back and doing all of that stuff, just get it done. Like, don't sit on that kind of thing. Because
now I'm looking at, I want to take it back to artists, because that for me is my issue. That there's people that I speak to now that are like, that will still ask, is it worth it? Samro, is it worth it? Capasso, imagine, is it worth it? Capasso, is it worth it? Risa, is it worth it? Should I be doing that? Are they trustworthy? And then there's other people where I'll say, actually, I'll give you an example. In the music producer group, someone came up with a brilliant idea of creating a beat tape. There's a truckload of producers, 256 music producers, all jam-packed in one group. Why not? Great. So someone makes the suggestion, great. And the next one's like, okay, so here's how we're going to split it up. 3 people work on a beat. Someone who's going to handle the drums, someone will handle the melody, someone's going to do the mix. I don't know how they had it sorted out. I said at the end, my contribution will be to do a final mix of everything. Once everything comes my way, I'll take 10 beats at a time and we can release them in volumes. Sharp. Everything is good. Everyone understands the method. Now, my only disclaimer was people need to be registered with SAMRO. That way, should any of this stuff do well, it's easy for us to get a sheet with all the data, all the metadata on it, everybody's name, everybody's IPI number, SAMRO member number, all of that stuff is covered. That way, if there's a placement, maybe an artist wants the beat, maybe, who knows, maybe it gets used in some place, at least then all of that stuff is covered. So we had a roster of everybody who wanted to take part initially. The moment I said that, people dropped off of that list. They're like, hey, my stuff is not covered. This is not ready. This is what someone was like, I'm not ready. That's when I was like, but guys, this group has been alive for 3 years. The registration is free. You're telling me that all of you guys who are not ready to take part in this thing, but this is it. This is exactly it. Some people will only take part in certain things when they know that you're registered. They'll say, what is your IPI? What's your publishing information? And who knows, you might get that feature next, you might get that Questa feature next week. And the song releases the following week. And then you're gonna say, okay, cool, but my SAMRO stuff is not covered. But then after that, when you eventually do want to fill out the forms, which has happened before, they're like, hey, man, do you think that I can get it sorted quickly? I'm like, no, friend, you have to wait the allotted 8 to 10 weeks like everybody else, which is 2 months. Your song has been spinning. Now these guys are having sleepless nights because now they're thinking about every single time they see it on TV, instead of getting elated and taking videos and stuff, now they're having heart palpitations because they're not sure that they're going to get paid. They don't know if this process is going to work out. So to save people's minds, just firstly, the mental clarity that you get when admin is done, and then just obviously then save your pockets. SAMRO, you can go retrospectively. You can do a retrospective collection where 3 years down the line, you're good. If it's 5, 10 years down the line, forget your royalties. And now they're paying us now. I get paid those cats who didn't want to register their stuff. If you don't get your stuff registered, you're paying me. Essentially, at the end of the year, there's a non-royalty incentive that comes through, and it's essentially there. I think that it's their extra funds that are now being divvied up amongst the people who actually have decided to get their stuff, and it's proportional. So I'll get some, but Questa will get a lot, but Beyonce will get a hell of a lot. You know, that type of thing. So mental clarity, as well as just not leaving any money on the table. Sometimes I think is just important.
Yeah. Admin, I think admin, like you say, admin, you know, it's a way for you to make sure that you get what you deserve if something somehow gets out there. And then also on top of that, it's a way for you to receive stuff easily, so that when someone says, I've got this opportunity for you, I just need to make sure you're good, and there's a basket for me to put this money in, or wait for you to you know, because I've got to sort it out so that you get what you need and get the job done. You know what I mean? So it's beneficial for another person, but you win more at the end of the day because he's trying to pay you for that service. And it would be crazy. I mean, if you go to a shop and the guy doesn't have change, it doesn't help anyone. That not being able to pay for that. Like, you go there, you want the product, he wants you to want the product and he wants you to pay for this product, and then he doesn't have change. He's not prepared. It's the same concept. And no one likes that. No one likes that at all, because it's like, but this was supposed to be a win-win situation, and just because you weren't prepared, now none of us can win in this situation. Exactly. And then it makes you think on top of that I can't come to this guy because now I've got to think about change. You know what I mean?
What other problems will there be? Will the product be substandard? Has he cut corners to get to this point?
Exactly that. So artists need to know that admin is the boring part, but admin is the money at the same time. Everyone wants to do it, and everyone wants to do it. Everyone wants the money, but you don't want to do the most crucial part just because it's boring. But the boring stuff is, we all know, the boring stuff is where the money is at, bro. Because no one wants to do the boring stuff, but that's where the money.
But that's where the money is.
So rather even, just that's why.
Yeah, I was gonna say even beyond admin, there was a guy. He's a graphic designer who I used to work with, and he asked me like, "What should I do?" Because his work was great, it was amazing, and it's like, "What should I do?" And I told him, "Be prepared. Be prepared," because then I gave him the scenario. I said, "Name an artist that you'd love to do graphics for," and he said, "AKA." I said, if AKA comes to you tomorrow, 24 hours from now, how ready are you to present your best work quickly, in a quick pitch, to be able to then, the capacity of you, are you able to do what he needs? Are you ready for that workload? If not, you're not prepared. So be prepared. And that was it. And then it just made him, it was a bit of a mind shift now, because it's like, oh shoot, if I was to take a meeting now, I don't know, what did I bring to show him? Do I bring my laptop? Because with me, he brought his laptop. We went to McDonald's and we sat there, and I was like, they might not want to do that. They might want a portfolio that's done already. Get that ready. Yes. Do that beforehand. Do the admin beforehand of getting your stuff ready. If you can get a website, you're a freaking graphic designer. Get that covered as well. Sort the stuff out.
Sorry, I'm saying, get a website, get a soda.
Was that your stomach? Was that your stomach?
I'm hungry, bro.
Yeah, so I told
you. The website thing, I think, is another big one. In that, I think even you can go find a list of South Africa's top 10 bubbling under artists.
Yeah,
and I bet you, I'm even being kind here, I'm betting 5 out of 10 of them don't have a website. I'm being kind. I think when I'm saying that, I think I'm being cautious when I say 5 out of 10. There's a good chance that maybe even 10 out of 10 of them won't even have a website or something. You know what I mean? And that's a basic thing. And people are like, but why websites? I'm thinking about my iTunes, my Spotify, my IG, because they're not thinking about the person who is going to come and want to consume your product. And then it's weird because you are a consumer. The only reason I pay the DistroKid fee for the Shazam thing is because I know that if by chance there is someone who hears it in a setting where they were not prepared to hear the song, but were like, hey, what is that? What's the first thing they do in terms of this generation that we know? It's Shazam. It makes sense. It's like, I don't know who this artist is. I like the music. I'm hearing this on the radio. I've never heard this before. I'm going to have to wait until the end, until the DJ says, and sometimes you miss that part, or they say it after the ad break. Yeah. It gets so annoying. And then, sandwich. Sorry.
You see this abuse I must deal with.
Don't worry, I've got it on camera.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I must know.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. What was I saying? So, huh?
No, I'm listening.
What was I saying? Look, I literally forgot.
Oh, you forgot. We were talking about fitness. Shoot, I forgot now as well.
We're talking about artists, websites. Oh, Shazam. We're talking about Shazam, yes.
Shazam, yeah.
I'll say Shazam, yeah. So at that moment when somebody hears that song, boom, that's your fan. Like that's a potential fan at that very moment. Here's a fan, clicks on it, goes to Shazam. From Shazam, it goes straight to iTunes or whatever you use, and there, your song is in someone's hands. And then now they do the exploring. Who is this person? Google, number one. Don't assume they're going to go to your Spotify. Don't assume they're going to go to your Instagram. Assume they might go any of these places, including the internet. So how are they going to find you? So the next step now would be to sort out your admin for these platforms. but too many people don't want to do that even. You may not use all of them, but just put something there.
Have a
Just
presence there, even if
yes,
even if there's
have
just a
presence,
basic
whatever it
profile.
is. Just a basic profile, a little bit of content on that platform. Just say, okay, you're alive. You've used it before, and if they were to DM you, maybe they'd even get a chance of communicating with you.
Yeah.
But don't just be completely scarce with one Instagram page, and even on that Instagram page, it's a photo of you and your dog, and you know there's 3 photos. It doesn't make sense. But all of those things artists don't think about
They
because
don't
they're
matter.
not thinking. Exactly. They're not thinking about the person who's going to come and eventually be the fan and eventually lead to the money. That's the simple part. Is that artists don't. It's not that they don't want to do it. It's just they don't see it. They don't see the importance at all. So it's not a case of you gave them the option and then they said, okay, I don't want to do that thing. It's just like they don't even see that side of the game at all. And it's the boring side, but once again, the boring side is where the money is at.
That's where the money is at. And I'll be honest with that. In the beginning, I thought Twitter was my thing. This was back in 2010. I'm lying. 2012. 2010, I thought Facebook was the one. But Facebook was weird because people were still doing Farmville and all that weird stuff. 2012, I was on Twitter a lot, and I'm trying to remember why. But I'd hit people up and I'd be like, okay, cool. What's happening? What's happening with the music? And then I'll try and then filter them back to WhatsApp. No, it was actually just BBM at the time. Imagine. So from there, I'd send them through to BBM, and then I realized, hold on, people are using WhatsApp. So then I downloaded WhatsApp, and then I started sending people from Twitter to either BBM or to WhatsApp. Then at that point, that's when I was like, okay, cool, I've got the system, I've got a funnel going, but I hadn't explored that funnel fully. So I continued working that funnel. And then I think what was next? Then I went back to Facebook. That was as WhatsApp was picking up more. I went back to Facebook, I started doing Facebook ads, which was another entry point. Then at that point, there was Instagram, which I left for a long time. YouTube, which I've left until very recently. So you've got all these different funnels of people coming in, and they're not going to consume your stuff in the same way. They're all coming specifically for a certain thing. And you kind of have to set things up for that. Maybe, rightly so, not every platform. I remember you and I had this conversation where you had mentioned that, look, there's certain platforms that they just don't work well for you. But it was because you had at least tried to create the platform, created a bit of content, realized that you yourself will not do well. You have stuff there, like on Twitter. If I go and find you on Twitter now, there's stuff there. It's not as active as the next person who uses Twitter as their main thing, but there's some kind of a profile going on there.
Yes.
So in the very same way, people need to have all that stuff. And then,
just quickly, it at least allows when someone who likes to use Twitter, what I've noticed, like if someone wants to post a song by me or post a clip, any bit of my content, they're able to at least tag me in their post, which then leads people to my Twitter. And if they see, okay, maybe he's not here too much, maybe he's on Instagram more, then they get to Instagram, it's like, oh, he's here. Or they get to Facebook and see, oh, okay, maybe he's a little bit more here also. But at least then the person who now wants to spread my content is able to tag me, which allows other people to go down the funnel.
The whatever funnel it might be. And it's the same with a website. A website is nice because unlike all the other platforms, each platform awards you for keeping people on that platform. Facebook penalizes you if in your post you say, check out my song on YouTube. I still see people doing it. Instagram doesn't have in your captions, yet people are still doing that too. Well, Twitter posts look weird when you add too much to them. And again, for that reason, people will scroll past you. So to have a place where everything is consolidated in a nice format, where they go to your page, it's like a taxi rank. Think of your website as a taxi rank. You go there and then you get to stand and you're like, okay, cool, where are we going? It's Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Distro, whatever it is, Deezer, everything is nicely laid out there. Or if I don't want to go anywhere, the music is here as well. The videos are here as well. And stuff is embedded. Your Facebook and your your YouTube, you've got the Facebook on the side, you've got your YouTube maybe on a separate page, you've got a couple of choice videos there, credit list, contact details, everything is consolidated in one easy to access place.
Yes.
That you give people the option, but at least you've given the option a chance.
Yes, yes. Give people the option because it's what you would want. The point is that this is the same thing that you would want, and not enough of artists put themselves in that position. Okay, of they're too busy thinking of or how people going to perceive me, or how I want to look to people. You know what I mean? They're not thinking, okay, but what do people want and how do I begin to service that? I think one of the biggest advices you gave me this year, you gave it to me recently, it was about 2 or 3 weeks back. You said after mixing the song we made, you said, okay, why don't you start saying the same message just in different forms or different ways of making a song? You know what I mean? You said, okay, maybe it's time to narrow down and just have the consistent message, just the different ways to present that message. All right. If I was going to extreme, I would say, okay, if you're an artist, maybe you do you
I am my biggest hype man. Continue.
Oh wow. What if you take a song, you make the dancehall version, you make the pop version, it's essentially doing that. But somewhere along the line, you don't know who's going to really bite onto the way that message was presented. But you're saying the same message, you're just putting it in a different package for someone else who might be interested in that color rapping. And essentially when they open the box, it's the same thing.
Didn't Nipsey do that?
Yeah, pretty much.
To an extent. He had this whole like hustle vibe, but it was being presented to you in different ways.
But it was presented, yes, exactly. And that consistency of that same message and everything is the biggest. But when you start looking now at the biggest stars, you're like, wait a second, they've all been doing it. They just haven't been telling you they've been doing it that way, but they've all been doing it. Essentially, Adele has been giving you the same thing. Adele's been giving you that relationship that went wrong, that one relationship that went wrong. Yeah. She made millions of one relationship going wrong, but in different songs and presenting the relationship at different angles of how it was looked at. That same scenario. She has so many songs. She has a whole album. She has 2 albums, kind of on the same path. She uses her life experiences and then she tells that story just from slightly different angles to make different songs.
Yeah.
But if you look at her message, it's kind of the same, which is not bad because it's still if you relate to her, you can relate to her on many levels.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
A fan is a fan. If they like that message, they might eventually start consuming it in a different way. Like, I didn't know Adele and dancehall. Yeah, this is my thing.
Yeah.
Becomes their thing.
It does, but I bet you the words of that dancehall song will be still Adele. It'll still be that relationship or whatever, somewhere in her life, whatever stage she is in her life, it'll still be that. Allowing you then to enjoy the dancehall version because you're still getting your Adele and you're still getting everything that she gave you in the past, just in a different package, but you don't mind as much. So
come to think of it, music producers have done the same thing over the years. But I think of people in their waves. You know, there's someone like Kanye who has sampled and he has gone all the way in. He became a god with regards to that. You see someone like a Pharrell and he did his thing as well. You know, he's got the percussion and the feel, you know, that light, bubbly vibe. We've got Timbaland making the weirdest, biggest sounds. We've got Dre with the cleanliness, and that's just that era. You've got your Mustards, your Metros, was it Metro or was it Sunny Digital?
Michael.
No, man.
Michael.
Zaytoven was another guy. Zaytoven said that his sound is the same. He said it in an interview not too long ago. He says, I've been making the same beats for how long now? It's the same beats over and over. People are imitating me, whatever it is, but I've stuck true to what I do. When people want Zaytoven, they know how they're going to get it. And he says that he's made so many beats and it sounds mechanical, but it isn't. I get what he was saying. He says he's made so many beats that sometimes he gets to the end of the beat and is like, I'm sure I've made this beat before. That's how far into it he's gone. And I feel like it's the same with Adele and all of these people, your Eminems and them. They have made their songs that they've made 3 or 4 times over. Not that it's the same verse. The verse might have been tweaked, but it might have just been presented in a different way. Instead of him telling the story, it could have just been it from the perception of the girl, and then it from the perception of the girl's mother, then it from the perception of the girl's child or your child. You know, it could have been a story that happened maybe 30 years ago, as opposed to what it would have sounded like if it was 30 years in the future. So
I saw a clip between Lil Wayne and I know I watched the full episode actually on Lil Wayne's podcast. You see it on YouTube.
Lil Wayne's podcast.
Yeah, he's been running a podcast since lockdown.
Is that the one where he sits on the couch and there's like a TV or something?
Yes,
there?
with that TV, yes.
Yeah,
so
he's
become popular because obviously he has access to all these big stars and he's been able to just talk candidly with them, and you know, it's more of a conversation, which is a different way to how an interview would be. So it's a little more enjoyable that way. And on the Eminem and Lil Wayne thing, one of them, I don't know who it was, but one of them said to the other one, "Yo, bro, do you find yourself Googling your music because you can't remember if you'd written this type of song?" And they both laugh and they're like, "Yo, bruh, do you know how many times I've had to Google myself just lyrics and make sure I haven't written this already, or this bar I haven't really used this bar and stuff like that." That's exactly what happens. So it's on what you just said now about they're going to be telling the same thing over and over again to the point where it's like, okay, but have I told it at this angle before? Because I could swear that I've actually done that. And it may sound like a bad thing, but it's exactly what keeps people coming back. Because regardless of how many times you heard Eminem talk about his mother, yes, a lot of people got fed up, but guess who was still there? The old fans came back for that. And it was like, but this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted him to talk about his mother, but he can do a funny song about it. He can do sorry mama type of song about it. You know, he's going to give you different angles of that perspective of his life.
Yeah.
But at least if that's what you fell in love with his music for, you're going to get it again. And at least, you know, you come back and like, whew, at least I'm going to get whatever he does new. Let me get my funny song. Let me get my I'm sorry at my mother's song or something like that. You know what I mean? So artists need to keep that in mind for themselves. It goes down a different path that it's a podcast for another day, but branding, essentially that's what branding is. Just same message, delivered in different ways, but consistent enough for someone to say, oh, that guy who does that thing. And there you have it. At least you can run with that now. If it's a good thing and you consistently do it, then you can run with it. It's funny, I don't know how we got from admin to this.
Which was essentially, it was going to lead us down towards branding. But yeah. And I think people also, they stop themselves. I think people stop themselves from, I know I do it. I'm just thinking about my beat challenges, my 100 beat challenges. I should, in hindsight, I honestly should have picked a genre. I would have vomited this genre, but then literally made one sound and like one specific subgenre. That's all I make that entire time. Make it. Then after that, if I really don't like it, I'm done with it. But if I do, I've mastered it. But there will be beats, like there's beats that I go back now and I listen to on my IG, and I'm like, what the hell? Like that beat and that beat, they're the same beat. Some of them will even have they'll have similar sounds in them. Like I always tell people, like I use the same kick. I haven't changed my kick in maybe 3 years.
Are you serious?
It's the same kick. And I've told people what the kick is. It's the same kick, the same 808. And it's the same kick 808 because the first time I used it, when I finished the mix and I played it in the car, they were perfect for each other.
They gelled
perfect. I didn't have to do too much. There's a little bit of side chaining, but besides that, everything sits. And I was so happy. I was like, why change this? So from time to time, I'll add a bit of distortion to make it a bit different. I'll try and play it in a different way, but for the most part, it's the same thing. It's become my sound. I've used the same re-space for, when did I meet Justin? We started working, 2013. I've used the same re-space for 7 years. It's the exact same thing. I just tweak it. The small little tweaks in it, but it's the exact same bass because it works.
And now you're the
every
master of the
single time.
you're the master of it.
Exactly. When I
I can
load
tell
it
you
up,
anything about the thing.
yeah, exactly. Like I sit there and I like tweak the buttons, and it honestly looks like I'm playing around. It looks like I'm just clicking things around, but I know exactly what I want because I've done it so many times over.
Yes.
And like I'm just thinking about it now. We were talking about sure, and now I'm going way off topic, but it's a perfect illustration. It's a perfect illustration. Football. I was having a conversation with someone. We were talking about why footballers train every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because there's certain things that they need to improve upon. A footballer might need to get bigger legs. They might need to become better tactically. They might need to improve on a certain thing. But the day-to-day improvements have nothing to do with trying to make the player better. All they're trying to do is to create an incredible muscle memory. If I pass the ball to you 10 times, by the 10th time, you will be able to judge it better. If I pass the ball to you 100 times, 1,000 times, you now see it and you know. But now you look at someone who's breathed, eaten, slept soccer their entire lives. When the ball's coming towards them, you know what to do. I know what to do because we've received a ball that comes from that angle. Yes. Enough times to know what to do
in your head,
guy over there.
2,000 calculations at once. You do so literally, it happens. It looks like the person is automatically doing it, but they're taking everything into consideration. The people around them while they're running, that ball, the speed is coming at, where it's most likely to hit. And on top of that, they're having to judge what they're going to do in the near future with that ball.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to have to hit it on my chest again so that I can get it there, so that I can get past that defender, so that I can shoot. You're doing that, and it's crazy because that is literally within very few seconds. Yes. Very few seconds that your brain is doing that.
And it's because they've done it so many times before. They've been in that situation. Messi's been in that situation countless times where he had to dribble 4 people. He's looking at it, he's like, man, I've done this one before. So it's the same with someone who's writing. So what's that?
I'll say he sees the path.
Sees the path. It's and because they've been through it so many times before, it's the same with musicians as well. They get to a point where they're like, I know exactly what to do. When the chorus comes in and does this thing, I know what to do. I've done it so many times, it becomes easy and it becomes less of a stress on the mind, and you don't get that same decision fatigue someone who's just started making beats or someone who's just started writing out. You don't get that same decision fatigue where you write one song and you're like, yo, I am finished. You can go and be like a Zaytoven or like a Tupac. People like they often talk about, I don't want to make too many songs in one day. Tupac was a huge, like he would push. He'd be like, productivity guys, what are we recording? Like line up another beat. People were like, the beat makers were like, dude, I don't have enough beats for you. That's the kind of
go home, bro, so I can work. Just go home. I just can do something. Let me.
No, I'm sure there were times when Tupac was like, make the beat now, man. Come on, give me something. Sometimes the beat, I remember sometimes the beat wasn't even finished. Tupac was like, just line up the drums. That's enough for me. You'll make the rest later. That's messy. That's the same thing. It's Cristiano.
Yes, it's the same concept.
Mayweather. It's the same thing over.
I'd actually like to ask you something because this brings us to a point where I think a lot of people get stuck, and it's the thing of where do you go creatively? Do I do volume or do? Because it's creatively, right? Content, yes, I say content 100%. Do volume if it's content. Get something out there. But now creatively, I think it becomes a little more difficult. Like you say, maybe you should have stuck to one beat, but all your skills that you have is from dipping in a lot of things. That maybe the one day something does bite, you can take all of those skills and start manipulating that in order to make it even better, because now not only are you going to be able to do that thing, but you're going to have so many skills that you shine even more than most people would doing one thing. And that's the part where a lot of people get stuck. Where do you think you would go? Because obviously when a kid finds someone they want to emulate, right? They're going to study that person. And that could easily lead them down a path of doing one thing. But at the same time, you need to have as many skills as possible. So how do you go about now? What's the balance you strike between that, between getting the skills that you need and at the same time becoming an expert creatively in that one thing that you do?
I'd say a split would be, I don't know why this number jumped into my mind, it would be a 35-65. 35 towards trying new stuff, 65 towards volume. I'd even push and say 70-30, but in favor of volume. You know what I did when I was at university. That was all I did. It was just volume. It was beats upon beats. You saw my incomplete folder. And that's the funny thing. My incomplete folder was huge. And how many times did you take beats from my incomplete folder? Exactly. But it was because...
That was what to choose from.
Exactly. The complete stuff was like, I suppose that one's done and I'm happy with it. But then the incomplete stuff, that's where your creativity gets an opportunity to just run wild. So even with these beat challenges now, it's been constant, and it's been, a lot of it was down to volume. But then within it, as you start trying things, when things become easier, you start to dive in a little bit more. So when you learn how you learn how to kick a ball, first of all, you take the ball and you pull your leg back and push it forward. That's the concept of kicking, right? But you do it enough times and you realize that you get a different result when you use your toe versus when you use the outside of your foot versus the inside of your foot versus the back heel. So you continue doing the same thing, and your volume leads to you doing the creative, because now something becomes too easy, now it becomes boring. And then you start picking out certain things. And then as you go down all the different parts and you start, okay, but now let me use that. Okay, but now let me use that. Eventually, it now starts to, from a bird's eye view, when you see someone working, it almost starts to look a bit random. There was a day I was making beats and you were there. And I was just sitting there, and I was just clicking around, doing random stuff, just clicking, dragging things. And it honestly looked like I was faffing around. And I thought about it. I was like, from an outside view, it looks like I'm doing nuts. Just clicking, ding, 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 and I hit play and I was done. I was finished with it. That's the kind of thing. So I'd say, to answer your question, it would be a split of, let me commit 70 to volume, 30 to creativity.
But still volume being an important thing. And I think also something I deduced from what you just said is that with the volume, you automatically start to contribute to creativity.
Bingo.
Because the more you do of that thing, the more you slightly tweak, the more you've done. You're not going to do 100 beats that sound exactly the same at the same tempo, you know what I mean? Even if you say, I'm going to limit myself to trap beats, but you're not going to do all trap beats at the same BPM, with the same instruments, with everything the same. With each one, you're going to kind of go out the line that you would usually do, and you might click on something and say, oh, that makes a funny sound. I wonder if I take that sound and I put it there. But that only came because you were doing more. So your body, so your mind experimented more each time you were adding onto that. And I can 100% agree to that. The 70-30 split, because as you know, is that I got better when you challenged me to do more songs. You're just like, dude, just give yourself a target of how many songs in a certain period of time, and then just repeat and see where it goes.
How was that for you? How was that for you? From the beginning to later on through the process, how did it go for you?
So before starting, I would say the mindset was, I need to make this song and I need to make it exactly the way it sounds in my head, because that's the only way it's going to be good. So now I had pressure of what to write, making sure that everything was in order for that writing, making sure when I record, everything is that way I want it to be. And then also on top of that, now when I've sent it to you, going back and forth between me and you, I'm trying to get it exactly that way. So that is time. That is time consuming. But at the end of the day, if I go back and listen to those songs, they were probably trash anyway. You know what I mean? For me, I'd probably look back and be like, well, but this is trash anyway. And someone might have consumed it and said they like it, but they might have not stuck around much longer after that. So I would have spent so much energy and time on that song, and the result is you can't even measure it. It didn't accumulate to anything. Then I started. Difficult at the beginning, damn hard. Because you're still stuck in that mindset and you're not used to it in your brain, the volume of having to put out creativity. You're not used to it at all. So you stop at every point and you still keep going back to check yourself. And then you get the first song done. And then you commit because now you put that time limit on the end. So you commit to having it done. And then the thing that you immediately feel is relief. You've taken all that pressure off yourself to come up with that song and to get it done. You just actually feel relieved when it's finally off your chest. And knowing that you have another song to do allows you to let go of all that pressure now, because now the next week is there and you're having to write another song. So you get caught up in the moment, but then the more you do it, the more you realize that even in that moment where you're caught up in the creativity, there's actually no pressure, because the next song is coming next week. And then the last part, the crazy thing is that now you start to feel the progression. And when that happens, I think that's where your mind starts to shift. Because when you feel the progression, you start to realize 3 weeks ago song was not as good as the song now. Meaning, as I'm writing this song, I'm already over it because I know I'm not as good as I'm going to be in 2 to 3 weeks time. I'm already thinking about the next song and the next song. I'm like, oh, I actually haven't made a song like that. Let me quickly get this song done and get this thing out of the way, because it's actually stopping me from creating the next song, which I know is going to be better and is going to be what I want to do. Now, every time I write a song, I feel like I'm 10 songs behind myself. I'm writing the song and I'm like, man, I know something else I can do, but I can't do it on this song. So I need to finish this damn song and get it out the way. I don't care about the song. I need to get the song out the way and then get on to the next one. But the best part is that in that time, at least your skills are improving. So it's not like you're releasing crappy song after crappy song. Eventually, just because of training, it's basic training. Now you've trained yourself, and you think you can get better. So every time you try something new, so you automatically getting better. It's a way to automatically get better. And that's what the full experience was like for me in those couple of weeks. And I learned so fast. It sped up the process, and it also gave me perspective on what is important when you are making music. It's not those fine little things that you worry about, the haze and the oh
at the end of the third verse.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I gotta have the 5 gunshots. Machiavelli. You know what I mean?
Oh man. Yeah. So I made 2 points quickly, and you touched on them as I was writing, well, just after I wrote them down. So the first point was, it sounds like you were and still are. You've realized that you're in training phase all the time. That even though you are performing, you're still training for the you that will be there in however many months or however many weeks, or even tomorrow. You're always just trying to better yourself, knowing you were worse before, and knowing you're kind of just speeding that process up by getting the volume out the way. And then the other thing is that quality was the other thing. Because I know for people who, I remember the very first challenge I did, the first 100 beat challenge, someone actually I don't know this guy from above. So he came onto one of the comments on like the 10th beat and was like, there's no way that you are going to be able to finish 100 beats. You're on beat number 10. So I didn't reply. I didn't reply.
Challenge accepted.
I waited.
Yeah,
and I went in, and all he did was give me more fuel, and I continued, got to the end, and I then went back and I commented. I was like, just have a look, all 100 there. But then there was also the thing of quality-wise, what are you looking at? Because not a lot of these are going to be hits. Not a lot of them are going to be doing, they're not going to do much for you. And that was a criticism that I got a lot of quality. What of the quality? My first thought was, firstly, you don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it so that the quality can be amazing. At this point, I know I'm always in training phase. I'm one of my harshest critics. I know I'm always in the beat that I made now, I'm not happy with it, but I know there's reasons, and I'm already criticizing myself an hour or a day after. I'm already like, man, this is not good enough. That day I could have changed that day. And I'm being very specific about certain things. And that's how I'm just speeding up that learning process. And it made me think of the process of learning, making something autonomous, where in the beginning you think, hi man, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is what needs to be done for me to become really good. Then when you actually start doing it, that's when your first thing is you learn what you learn that you don't know what you do. You don't know what you don't know. So yeah, so if someone comes through, they learn a little bit of something, they're like, oh snap, there's all of that. Like thinking about video editing, I'm thinking, yeah, just bring things together, chop, and we're done. But then you get into it, you're like, transitions, grading, that thing, that. Then there's that process where you actually go down the rabbit hole, which is what you've explained, where you go down the rabbit hole of your own thoughts, getting out of your own head, realizing that you need to remove yourself from the situation and think about it objectively. Then from there, you get into that stage where certain things that you struggled with in the beginning, for me, something like compression, EQ, whatever, for you putting together a line. It's not difficult for you to put a line together. Now you're thinking beyond that. Sharp, we've got a line now. How does this line now interact with the next line? How does it relate to the line at the same part of the next verse? Now you're thinking way beyond that. Now you're moving towards your autonomous, now you're moving towards mastery, which is essentially where the movement needs to be. I think that question of quality for me sometimes becomes an excuse for people. They're like, man, if I'm releasing 10 tracks in a year, then people will automatically perceive it as quality. And you and I have seen that time spent on a song versus quality, they're not proportional like that. You can spend, and then your song is.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can have a beat that goes beep, bop, beep, 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 bop, beep, beep, and think to yourself, okay, this is incomplete, this is trash, this is nonsense. Rapper comes, zim, ding, 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 beep, bop, beep, 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 bop. All he did, also him, was just make a feel-good moment, and next thing you know, everyone now has taken this and experienced something that you didn't think would come from the beep bop, you know what I mean? And you could have easily never, ever, ever made that beat or never released it or never allowed anyone to hear it because you were sitting there thinking like, hey, I know it can go, so I'm going to sit on it and wait for a day I'm creative enough to take it there. Meanwhile, just by having let someone hear the concept, then they take it to the next level, and next it's bigger than the two of you, because people have taken that thing and you gave them something that you didn't think you were giving them, but they perceived it in a certain way, and it meant so much to them. And that's what's happened to a lot of songs, especially viral songs. I think Lil Nas X is one of the few examples where someone was like, I'm going to make a viral song. His story says that I was trying to make something viral, and he happened to hit it. So unless you're going to study virality itself, then and you just want to make music and as much music as you can, or want to have a long career in music, you want to be a musician, all of these things, then what you've got to think about then is the volume, because you don't know what eventually is going to hit. You have no idea. It'll be the one thing that is just a throwaway for you, or it's something where you just like, you know what, I just needed to get this off my chest and just move on to the next thing. And then 6 songs down the line, someone actually heard that one you did 6 songs ago, and they have now shared it with a bunch of people, and they're sharing it, and what. And meanwhile, you living your life trying to think of the next thing to come, next thing to next thing to come. And now there's this thing actually coming from behind. I'm sure that's happened for people. There's now something, that wave is actually coming from behind you. You didn't create, you didn't like create it and try and move forward with it. It's actually coming back to you. But the brilliant part is that there'll be stuff from before that wave, and already you have the stuff ready for after that wave.
Yes, that's that preparedness. There it is.
And the preparedness, the thing they always talk about, the catalog. You have the thing of like, okay, choose. I always say to people like, do you want someone, you know, to try sell you something, and it's just one thing they're trying to sell you? It's just one product. Like, and if you don't want it, just think about what happens there. You say, I don't want it. And then he tries to force that same product down your throat. You're like, but I don't want that guy. You know what I mean? Or do you want someone to be like, okay, cool, do you want this product? And you're like, no, I don't want it. Okay, cool, what kind of product do you want? Because I also have this. Actually, I also have that. And I also have this. Would you like, oh, and then you're like, oh, but do you have, and then he's like, yeah, I actually do. Here, let me take you to this section of my products. And this one might be for you. And next thing you know, you're like, this is my guy. And you're going to talk about him because you're going to be like, yo, you need this thing, that guy got it for you. Whatever you need, that guy's got it for you. Trust me, I know. He took me down the rabbit hole, and your life might change whereby you need other stuff from him, but just knowing that he's got that stuff, you're going to go back to that guy. But I don't know. That's my guy. Don't tell me about anyone else. He the dude. Yeah. No. So that's the whole concept of the volume thing, is to just, you know, you're not trying to make every song the hit. You're just trying to make this, you're trying to make a song so that, you know, you're happy with it, but then move on from it. So you're happy with the actual song, cool, but don't treat it as the song. There's people who do that, but I'm like, okay, cool, but then you're wasting a lot of time. And also at the same time, when everything does come and the wave hits, you have nothing else to offer, and it goes down just as fast. I think now with you, think about with the number of beats you've made, a wave hits you now, and someone's like, oh, you know, a song pops off because you made a certain type of beat that was a throwaway for you, and it was the bread and butter thing that you do all the time. And now people are like, yo, we want those beats from Silas. And we need to work with Silas because we need those beats. How much more difficult is it for you to get the product done or get the product to people? One, either you're going to just give them a whole folder full of those beats, which is the first thing you're going to do. And they're going to be so impressed. They're going to be like, yo, we went to him, we said we want this beat, and he gave us 50 of those things. We're like, you know what I mean? you just think of those lines that you're not doing it because the one beat is going to get you there. It's just, okay, now you have a catalog. So when someone comes back, it's like, no, I've actually got 10 other beats. Here's a folder. Here's a USB with 10 of similar beats. If these are the type of beats you like.
That's actually happened before.
Else? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. When people release projects and I have 1 or 2 songs on it, they'll be like, hey, man, hey, that track that you did with so-and-so, yeah, I want a beat like that. And there'll be an influx of them. And I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So I started doing that. When I get a placement, I'll go back, listen through, and then I'll be like, okay, I do have enough. Or I'll just make a couple more, just keep them on the side. And they usually get...
And it's not difficult. Meaning that if it was a wave, then you start building the momentum for the wave. And it's not hard. That's the thing. It won't be hard for you when it comes to building the momentum and giving people what they want. For you, it's just gonna be like, okay, cool. I just keep. You're probably gonna be annoyed at how easy it is, but all the work was done before that. All the hard grind was done before that, and it may look easy to someone else, but the part that wasn't easy was the 10 years of trying to at least just get good at this thing and keep improving, and then trying to get your name out there and all of these things. Then suddenly you're sitting in this pool of success and you're not there and drowning in your own pool of success because you're like, I've trained so hard for this. I didn't even realize it, but I've actually been training this whole time. And now I'm not going to drown in it. That's what people need to realize. But everyone still wants the one moment.
The one moment. Look at DJ Mustard. Look at DJ Mustard. Look at the Chainsmokers as well. We got sick and tired of the Chainsmokers. They were in our faces with the same sort of feel, but we knew these Chainsmokers. They just kept on giving it to us with the people that we thought we were going to. I think they did one with Coldplay. They did one with there's a whole long list of people that they did songs with, but they all had the same formula. There was a Chainsmokers formula.
Yes.
Same with the DJ Mustard. Din, din, din. The same 3 notes over and over again. Simple. Get someone, slap them on it, do that 50 times. All of a sudden, you've got a sound. And it might have been short-lived, but I'm telling you, there are still people now. There was a
Don't forget
DJ
the
Mustard
8.
track.
He ate. Don't forget that. On top of that, he ate. Even if it's a year, bro. And especially in America, obviously is the best place to have it done. America or a large place like Europe, like if it's dance music or something like that. But the population of people who are going to receive your product, America is a nice example for hip hop music specifically, because they know there that one song literally sets you. And if you're smart, it can set you for life. The problem is that most people, obviously, they want the Jay-Z success, but are doing very little for that level of success. But at least it's a market whereby if you do have that one moment in life, it can literally set you up for life. But now just imagine having the ability to continue that wave. Now think about how much you can really, really, really eat if you are able to take that wave and really ride it out.
You're printing money at that stage.
Exactly. Then you'll be printing money. I think what, as people in South Africa, is that your market is small. So when you do cater to them properly. Give them the volume and work to continue to give them the volume. I think only, unfortunately, the house DJs are better at that. The house DJs are really good at that in South Africa, of when they bite and they get the sound that they're known for, to continuously give it. Those house people, bro, when a wave hits, and the same day. Right now we're riding the Master KG wave. Been riding that. And now people are at the point where, like, whatever he releases, we're ready. Ready, Master KG, give us another song. He's gonna come with that. He's gonna come with his Wanitamos. that thing he loves saying, his slogan. But people will be ready for that. You know what I mean? Because now he's gonna give him those same sounds, those same elements. Something that's probably very easy for him to do now.
Yeah,
he's got his sound. He's probably been making beats. But now that people are coming and hunting it from him, he's just like, okay, cool, yeah, here's a Master KG. Oh, you want me to say, oh, Anita Mos, okay, sharp, I'll get on your song and say, oh, Anita Mos, and be there for the music video. You know what I mean? People are paying him now big monies to do those kind of things. So what artists need to remember is that you still need to develop that thing and just pretend that in your mind, you're still training towards that. So that by the time that thing actually does hit, you can ride it out easily with very little effort. Now I think to myself, if I make a song and it just happens to bite, out of all of the songs we've made, I'm just saying now at this stage, because now I'm 10 steps ahead of myself, everything that I've done in the past is weak for me. I'm like, okay, this is weak. This is trash. That means if any song from my past bites and that is the sound that people want, I'm gonna be like, really? But at the same time, like, I'll give you another 5 of those if you want, because I feel like I'm much better than that. But okay, if this is what you want, here's another 5 songs that are kind of similar and were really, really easy to make. Now that I think about it, I'm so good now compared to then that I can do this in 10 minutes. Sharp, here it is. That's the mentality that as a creator you need to have. Whether you're a stand-up comedian, whether you're a painter, whatever it is, do more of the basic thing. If you're asking yourself, okay, but how do I get there? Think about the field you are in and ask yourself, what is the most basic thing required in this field? What is the most basic thing that you have to be good at, right? So if it's an artist painting pictures, the most basic thing you have to be good at is to be able to complete the canvas. Paint it, complete it. No matter what is up there, but the most basic thing is that you need to be able to just complete the picture, and it needs to look as the thing, whatever. It has to be the image or the expression that was intended. So once you've got the most basic thing, say, how many times can I do this in a week? That's the next question you need to ask yourself. How many times can I do this most basic thing in a week? if you can say, okay, cool, I've got pretty good at drawing faces, then don't spend the month drawing the face, spend a week drawing a face, because you know if you put under pressure, you can actually complete it. And then you finish the face and then find another face to draw in front and just repeat that same formula. And then next thing you know, you're sitting at the end of the year with 40 something or portraits or something like that, where you can literally now have a gallery of things that have probably gotten easier and easier to do. And if someone happens to find that one portrait that you did, or you did a portrait of a certain artist, and that artist happens to see that one portrait, now he suddenly wants to buy it from you. Now you have contact with him, and you actually drawn a portrait of another friend of his in the music industry or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, okay, by the way, show this photo to your friend because I drew one of him. And then the wave comes to you and you write it out, and it's easy to do because you've done it so many times. You're just like, dude, I drew you last year. Okay, cool. You want to think of yourself? Give me a week. Meanwhile, you drew this thing last year. You're chilling for that week. Right? Like, okay, cool. I'll have it to you at the end of the week. They thinking, yo, hey, so fast in 1 week. And then the end of the week, like, hey, where's that photo again? Hey, man, here's that thing. I finished it.
Love it.
You are set, bruh. You are set.
Wax on, wax off.
Daniel Star.
Yeah, wax on, wax off until it becomes so easy. That you are like, man, but why?
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, dude.
All right, man.
Yeah. Where's the things, bro? I can't hear them.
You can't hear them.
No. There's no this week. There's nothing.
Yeah, bro, I've been pushing buttons.
Really?
For real?
Nah, fam.
Next, bro.
Last week it was blasting through my speakers. That dog one got me.
Wait, hold on.
There we go.
There
What
we
was-
go. What's it?
What hadn't you said?
Options. I hadn't set it was still set to beat making mode. We're back. And that's a wrap.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Man, this shit needs to stop. Oh, snap. That's the wrap. Yeah, man. Soundproof. We made it to episode 3.
This is 3. But it's a lot. The episodes are long, so we're gonna probably have to chop them up into little.
Yeah,
smaller, there'll still be 3 episodes, but I think they'll just be little sound bites here and there of condensed content that we can just post out.
Yeah, maybe make it such that, there's a place where someone can literally watch the whole thing if that's what they want to do. And then otherwise we just use the snippets the whole time and then just send them that way to the podcast if they want to listen to the full thing. But it's crazy because people are really into podcasts, and it